Hi there. Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you for being here. Whether you stumbled across this video or you came here searching for something, I'm glad you found your way. Because this story might be the one your heart needs right now. Today, I'm sharing something deeply personal. A journey through burnout, pain, and ultimately healing. It's not just a story about being a doctor, it's about being human. About reaching the breaking point and choosing to rebuild. This is, I'm not okay, the 3 words that saved my life. The air hung thick and heavy that morning, not just with humidity, but with the unspoken weight of my own exhaustion. It was a Tuesday, typically a day brimming with meetings, deadlines, and the relentless pursuit of professional validation. But this Tuesday felt different. It felt insurmountable. I'd been running on fumes for months, maybe even years. The subtle whispers of burnout had gradually escalated into deafening roars that I stubbornly ignored, convinced that pushing through was the only option. Success doesn't come easy, I'd repeat to myself, a mantra masking a deep-seated fear of inadequacy. I was a doctor after all. Doctors fixed people. Doctors didn't get broken. The hospital, a sprawling concrete labyrinth of beeping machines and hushed anxieties, felt particularly oppressive that day. The fluorescent lights buzzed with an almost mocking energy, highlighting the dark circles under my eyes and the tension etched onto my face. I walked through the familiar corridors, nodding to colleagues, offering perfunctory greetings, all the while feeling like an imposter in my own skin. My first patient was Mrs. Gable, a sweet elderly woman with a chronic heart condition. I'd been treating her for years, and we developed a comfortable rapport. Usually I enjoyed our conversations, her gentle spirit a welcome respite from the sterile environment. But today, even her warmth felt draining. As I listened to her chest, the rhythmic thumping of her heart, a stark reminder of the fragility of life, a wave of nausea washed over me. It wasn't the smell of antiseptic, it was the sheer weight of responsibility, the constant awareness that my decisions could have life-altering consequences. I forced a smile, prescribed her usual medication, and offered a few words of encouragement. But as she shuffled out of the room, I felt a pang of guilt. I hadn't truly listened to her. I'd simply gone through the motions, my mind preoccupied with the mounting tasks ahead. The rest of the morning followed a similar pattern. A constant stream of patients, each with their own unique set of ailments and anxieties. I diagnosed, prescribed, and reassured, but the empathy felt hollow, the connection strained. I was operating on autopilot, a shell of the compassionate doctor I once aspired to be. During a brief lull between appointments, I retreated to the doctor's lounge, hoping for a moment of peace. But even there, the atmosphere was charged with stress. Colleagues huddled around, discussing difficult cases, complaining about administrative burdens, and lamenting the ever-increasing demands of the healthcare system. I felt a surge of resentment. Why was it so hard? Why did we have to sacrifice our own well-being to care for others? I poured myself a cup of coffee, the bitter aroma doing little to alleviate the gnawing anxiety in my stomach. As I sat there, staring blankly at the wall, a memory surfaced. It was a memory from my childhood, a time when I felt carefree and unburdened. I was playing in my grandmother's garden, surrounded by vibrant flowers and the sweet scent of honeysuckle. I remembered the feeling of the sun on my skin, the sound of birds chirping, the simple joy of being alive. The contrast between that memory and my current reality was stark and painful. I realized how far I'd strayed from that innocent, joyful child. I'd become so consumed by ambition and external validation that I completely neglected my own needs. I'd sacrificed my physical and emotional health on the altar of success. My next patient was a young man named David, who was suffering from severe depression. He sat slumped in a chair, his eyes filled with a profound sadness that mirrored my own. As he spoke, his voice barely a whisper, I felt a flicker of recognition. I knew that feeling of hopelessness, that overwhelming sense of despair. I knew it all too well. I listened intently as he described his struggles, his voice cracking with emotion. I offered him words of comfort and support, but this time they weren't just empty platitudes. They were genuine, heartfelt expressions of empathy. Because for the first time, I understood what he was going through. After David left, I sat in silence, tears streaming down my face. It was as if a dam had finally broken, releasing a torrent of pent-up emotions. I allowed myself to feel the pain, the exhaustion, the fear. I didn't try to suppress it or rationalize it away. I simply let it wash over me. And then something remarkable happened. In the midst of the pain, I felt a glimmer of hope. A tiny spark of resilience that refused to be extinguished. I realized that I didn't have to be perfect. I didn't have to be strong all the time. It was okay to be vulnerable, okay to ask for help. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone and called my therapist, Sarah. I hadn't spoken to her in months, convinced that I could handle everything on my own. But now I knew I couldn't. I needed her guidance, her support. "Sarah, it's me," I said, my voice choked with emotion. "I'm not okay." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line, and then Sarah's voice, warm and reassuring, filled my ear. "I'm so glad you called," she said. "I've been worried about you." We talked for over an hour, and with each word, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. Sarah listened patiently as I poured out my heart, offering gentle insights and practical advice. She reminded me of my strengths, my accomplishments, and my inherent worth. She helped me see that my struggles didn't define me, they were simply a part of my journey. By the end of the call, I felt a sense of clarity and peace I hadn't experienced in years. I knew that the road to recovery wouldn't be easy, but I also knew that I wasn't alone. I had Sarah, my family, my friends, and most importantly, I had myself. That evening, I made a conscious decision to prioritize my well-being. I canceled my remaining appointments, left the hospital, and went home. I took a long, hot bath, listening to soothing music and allowing my muscles to relax. I cooked myself a healthy meal, savoring each bite. And then, I curled up on the couch with a good book, forgetting about work, deadlines, and responsibilities. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Gratitude for Sarah, for my loved ones, and for the courage to finally admit that I wasn't okay. It was the first step on a long and challenging journey, but it was a step in the right direction. A step towards healing, towards wholeness, towards a life filled with joy and purpose. The next few weeks were a blur of therapy sessions, self-reflection, and conscious effort to prioritize my mental and physical health. I learned to set boundaries, to say no to unreasonable demands, and to delegate tasks when possible. I started exercising regularly, meditating, and spending more time in nature. I rediscovered the simple joys of life, the things that had once brought me so much happiness. I also started being more open and honest with my colleagues about my struggles. To my surprise, many of them shared similar experiences. We formed a support group, a safe space where we could talk openly about our challenges, offer each other encouragement, and share coping strategies. It was a powerful reminder that we were all in this together. My patients also noticed the change in me. They commented on my renewed energy, my increased empathy, and my genuine concern for their well-being. I realized that by taking care of myself, I was actually becoming a better doctor. One day, Mrs. Gable came in for a checkup. As I listened to her heart, I noticed a subtle improvement in her condition. She smiled at me, her eyes twinkling with warmth. "You seem different, doctor," she said. "You seem happier." I smiled back, feeling a surge of gratitude. "I am Mrs. Gable," I said. "I finally realized that I can't pour from an empty cup." She nodded knowingly. "That's a wise lesson, doctor," she said. "One that we all need to learn." As she left the room, I felt a profound sense of peace. I knew that I still had a long way to go, but I was on the right path. I was finally taking care of myself, and in doing so, I was able to take better care of others. I had finally admitted that I wasn't okay, and in that moment of vulnerability, I had found my strength. Years passed. The hospital continued to be a demanding place, the pressures relentless, but my approach to handling them had fundamentally changed. I established clear boundaries between my professional and personal life. Weekends were sacred, dedicated to recharging and spending quality time with loved ones. I discovered the importance of hobbies, painting, hiking, and even learning to play the ukulele, badly, but enthusiastically, became essential for stress relief. Therapy remained a non-negotiable part of my routine, a safe space to process the emotional toll of my work and to ensure I didn't slip back into old patterns. I learned to recognize the early warning signs of burnout, the persistent fatigue, the cynicism, the detachment, and to take proactive steps to address them. One of the most significant changes was my willingness to delegate. I had always been a bit of a control freak, believing that I had to do everything myself to ensure it was done correctly. But I realized that this was not only unsustainable, but also disempowering to my colleagues. I started trusting my team, delegating tasks, and providing them with opportunities to grow. This not only lightened my workload, but also fostered a more collaborative and supportive work environment. I also became an advocate for mental health awareness within the hospital. I organized workshops and seminars on stress management, burnout prevention, and self-care. I shared my own story, hoping to inspire others to seek help and to prioritize their well-being. Slowly but surely, the culture of the hospital began to shift. The stigma surrounding mental health diminished, and more healthcare professionals felt comfortable admitting that they were struggling. One day, a young resident, fresh out of medical school, approached me with a worried expression. "Dr. Anya Sharma," she said, "I think I'm burning out. I'm constantly exhausted, I'm losing interest in my work, and I feel like I'm failing my patients." I smiled at her, remembering my own struggles. "I understand," I said. "I've been there too." I shared my story with her, offering her words of encouragement and practical advice. I connected her with Sarah, my therapist, and encouraged her to join our support group. A few weeks later, I saw her in the hallway, her eyes sparkling with renewed energy. "Thank you, Dr. Sharma," she said. "You saved me. I feel like I can finally breathe again." In that moment, I realized that my journey had come full circle. I had gone from being a doctor who was struggling to admit that she wasn't okay, to being a doctor who was helping others find their way back to health and wholeness. And it all started with that simple yet powerful admission: I'm not okay. My work with patients continued to be a source of both joy and challenge. There were days when I felt overwhelmed, when the weight of responsibility threatened to crush me. But I had learned to cultivate resilience, to find strength in vulnerability, and to prioritize my own well-being. I knew that I couldn't heal others if I wasn't healed myself. The hospital, once a source of stress and anxiety, had become a place of connection and purpose. I had forged deep relationships with my colleagues, my patients, and the community. I felt like I was making a real difference in the world, one person at a time. One particularly memorable case involved a young girl named Maya, who had been diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of cancer. Her prognosis was grim, and her family was devastated. I worked tirelessly to find the best possible treatment options for her, consulting with specialists from around the world. But despite our best efforts, Maya's condition continued to deteriorate. As Maya's health declined, I spent countless hours with her and her family, offering them comfort and support. I listened to their fears, their hopes, and their dreams. I helped them navigate the complex medical system and make difficult decisions. And I reminded them that even in the face of death, there was still beauty and meaning to be found. One evening, as I sat by Maya's bedside, she turned to me with a peaceful expression. "Dr. Sharma," she said, "I'm not afraid anymore." I smiled at her, feeling a surge of love and admiration. "I know," I said. "You're very brave." Maya passed away peacefully the next morning, surrounded by her loved ones. Her death was a profound loss, but it also taught me a valuable lesson about the power of compassion, the importance of presence, and the resilience of the human spirit. I carried Maya's memory with me, using it as a source of inspiration and motivation in my work. I continue to advocate for my patients, to fight for their rights, and to provide them with the best possible care. Years turned into decades. I transitioned from being a young, ambitious doctor to a seasoned, experienced physician. I mentored countless residents, sharing my knowledge, my skills, and my wisdom. I became a leader in the medical community, advocating for policies that promoted patient-centered care and healthcare equity. I also continued to prioritize my own well-being. I retired from full-time practice but remained active in the medical field, volunteering my time at a local clinic and teaching medical students. I spent more time with my family and friends, traveled the world, and pursued my hobbies. One sunny afternoon, I was sitting in my garden, surrounded by the vibrant flowers and the sweet scent of honeysuckle, when I received a phone call. It was from one of my former residents, Dr. Emily Carter. "Dr. Sharma," she said, "I just wanted to thank you. You changed my life." I smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "What do you mean?" I asked. "I was struggling with burnout just like you were when I first met you," she said. "But you showed me that it's okay to ask for help, that it's okay to prioritize my own well-being. You taught me how to be a better doctor and a better person." I felt tears welling up in my eyes. "Thank you, Emily," I said. "That means the world to me." As I hung up the phone, I realized that my journey had come full circle once again. I had started out as a doctor who was struggling to admit that she wasn't okay, and I had ended up as a doctor who was helping others find their way back to health and wholeness. And it all started with that simple yet powerful admission: I'm not okay. Looking back on my life, I am filled with gratitude for the challenges I have faced, the lessons I have learned, and the people who have supported me along the way. I am grateful for the opportunity to have made a difference in the lives of others, and for the chance to have lived a life filled with joy, purpose, and meaning. And I am grateful for the courage to finally admit that I wasn't okay, because that admission led me to a life that is more fulfilling, more meaningful, and more authentic than I could have ever imagined. It wasn't just about admitting I'm not okay. It was about what came after that acknowledgement. It was about building a life centered around genuine well-being, not just the illusion of it. It was about creating a ripple effect, inspiring others to prioritize their mental and physical health, and fostering a culture of compassion and support within the healthcare system and beyond. It was about recognizing that vulnerability is not a weakness but a strength, and that asking for help is not a sign of failure, but a sign of courage. The journey was long and arduous, filled with ups and downs, moments of triumph and moments of despair. But through it all, I learned to embrace the imperfections, to forgive myself for my mistakes, and to celebrate my successes. I learned to appreciate the simple joys of life, to cultivate gratitude, and to live each day with intention and purpose. And most importantly, I learned that true health is not just the absence of disease, but a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. It is a state that requires constant attention, conscious effort, and a willingness to prioritize our own needs. So, if you're struggling, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you are questioning your worth, please remember that you are not alone. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to prioritize your own well-being. Because you are worthy of love, you are worthy of happiness, and you are worthy of a life filled with joy and purpose. And it all starts with that simple yet powerful admission: I'm not okay. The legacy I hope to leave wasn't just one of medical expertise, but one of human connection, vulnerability, and the unwavering belief in the power of self-care. To inspire generations of doctors to see beyond the symptoms, to listen with empathy, And to remember that the most important tool in their arsenal wasn't a stethoscope or a scalpel, but their own capacity for compassion and understanding. A doctor who took care of themselves could provide truly impactful patient care and leave behind lasting goodness. That's how future generations of healthcare professionals would improve the system from the inside out. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, even just a little, please know you're not alone. Maybe you've been carrying more than anyone knows. Maybe you've been telling yourself to just keep going. But healing often begins the moment we admit we're not okay. And that's not weakness. That's courage. That's the first step towards something better. If this message spoke to you, take a moment today, just for yourself. Reach out to someone. Breathe, rest, feel. Because your well-being matters. If you found this story helpful, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe for more healing stories just like this one. Until next time, take care of your heart. Take care of your mind. And remember, it's okay to not be okay.